Okay, here we are, part three of our intro to animals. And so this will take us to number, what's we at, 21? Yeah, 21 of our notes. We're going to talk about body symmetry, okay? So first we need these. Let's talk about asymmetry. There are some animals that have asymmetry. Now that's not on your table, all right? Is the absence of symmetry really a kind of symmetry? Well, anyways, a sponge is asymmetrical. We're going to need that, because we also have bilateral symmetry. All right, now this is how you are. So bilateral symmetry, which we'll see in a second, is body parts that are equal on both halves. And then we've got radial symmetry, which is in a circle. Yes, we need those, maybe some of that. Okay. All right, so there's a good example right here, a sea anemone, of a creature with radial symmetry. Okay, this is repeating around a circle. So radial, radius means circle. Yes, yes, has to do with circle. So this is the first row of our table on 21. So radial symmetry, we have things like sea anemones. What else? Starfish. What else? Jellyfish. Okay, good examples. So that takes us to bilateral symmetry. Bi means two, lateral has to do with a line, right? So bilateral symmetry is a single plane dividing into two equal halves, right? This is a crawdaddy or a lapstead, and he's bilaterally symmetrical. So are you. I could take a sword, shooing, chop right down the middle. You'd be two mirror images. Don't science on that one. Take my word for it. What else is bilaterally symmetrical? Your pup? Your kitty cat? Yeah. All right, let's identify the symmetry. So here's a quick slow quiz. What's this little guy? A sea hare? Yep, that's right, bilateral. What about this one? That's a big old funky sea star. Radial symmetry. What about this? This is a kind of sponge, believe it or not. Asymmetrical, no symmetry. Sea anemone? Radial symmetry. Chimpanzee? Bilateral symmetry. You've done it. Okay, so how we describe animals, we talk about some of the directions, right? So this is number 22. We'll match these things up, all right? So we've got the anterior end of a creature, of an animal. That's the front end. We also have the posterior, which is the back end. All right, post means back, behind, after, that kind of thing, right? So anterior and posterior. But we also have a couple different directions, which is the side that is where your back is. Your upper side is your dorsal side. You guys all know about the dorsal fin on a shark or a dolphin, right? It's that fin that sticks up out of the water. The opposite of that is the belly side, which is the lower side called the ventral side. So these directions make less sense for creatures who have decided to wander around on two legs like us, but it makes way more sense with this, a crawdaddy or with your dog or something, right? So those are the four directions you should know. All right, so that takes us to number 23, which is, what is cephalization? Well, cephalization is the concentration of sense organs at the front end, right? Earlier I said when sense organs are concentrated at the front end, the anterior end, we had it as a characteristic of complex animals. Well, that is called cephalization. So it's an evolutionary trend. So we are highly cephalized, right? Our eyes, our noses, right? Our sense of smelling, of taste, of sight, of hearing. That's all focused in the front end of our body, right? Just like this cobra. So cephalization. Yeah, so let's talk about body cavities. So your body cavity is where you keep all your important stuff, right? So we have a few different forms of body cavities in animals. Some don't have them. Some have them, but they don't develop exactly as you would think. and then some have true body cavities, right? So the body cavity's purpose is to contain all your organs. And the word you should know here is that it's called a coelom, C-O-E-L-O-M. All right, that's the name for the body cavity that we have. And since we humans have a true body cavity, we are described as eucoelomate animals, EU meaning true. So there you go. Body cavity, the purpose is to contain and keep organized all of our organs. That's where we keep all our goody works. Okay, so that takes us to the last question on our notes, number 25. And it's just a quick little survey through the major animal phyla. So, all right, our next thing we'll do is we'll look at each of these phyla in some detail. We'll think about them, we'll talk about them, we'll learn about them. That will be what we do for the rest of this year, right? So the first phylum I want you to talk about is Porifera, and these are sponges. So you guys have known there's a sponge in the back of my classroom. Most of you, without my permission, have touched it at some point. So there's that. There's a sponge. This is not like the yellow or blue or green sponges you find in your kitchen. Those are artificially manufactured. I'm talking about a real natural sponge. So phylum Porifera. Phylum Cnidaria, that's a silent C. These are things with stingers like jellyfish and sea anemones and these other things called hydra, which you don't know about except for from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Anyways, let's move on to the next phylum, which is Platyhelminthes. So these are generally known as flatworms. So we've got these guys on the left called the Planaria. Right? These are free living, and that just means they're not parasites or anything. But the vast majority of Platyhelminthes, the flatworms, are parasites. That's a tapeworm on the right. All right, they're icky. We also have other kinds of worms. We've got nematodes, phylum Nematoda. All right, this is a illustration. You're welcome for not using an actual photo of a parasitic roundworm called a heartworm. This is why you give your pets heartworm preventative medication, because you do not want them reproducing in your dog's heart. Gross and dangerous and deadly. Most nematodes are not harmful, but some are. Phylum Annelida are these segmented worms, so to speak, segmented repeated body parts, okay? So earthworms, leeches, those are also examples of segmented worms. Phylum Mollusca, a very diverse phylum. So we've got this funky thing on the top called a sea hare. All right. It's basically a giant pokey slug that lives in the ocean. Mollusks also include things like snails, slugs, and all your bivalves, all your clams and oysters and mussels and stuff like that, and scallops. Pretty tasty. You also got your squid and octopus. Right, this man is holding up a big old squid. That's a Humboldt squid. That's pretty cool, isn't it? We've got phylum Arthropoda, arthropods. All right, so these things are crunchy outsides. So we're talking bugs. All our crunchies. Bugs, spiders, insects, right? Crustaceans, the delicious lobster up there. So these are all crunchy. So phylum Arthropoda is by a wide margin the most diverse animal phylum, right? So far more species in this phylum than all the other phyla put together, all right? There are a lot of kinds of bugs out there is what I'm saying to you. Phylum Echinodermata, that's how it's pronounced. These are our sea stars or starfish. It also includes things like our sand dollars. Maybe you know about a sand dollar. All right, so Echinodermata. Echino means spiny, derm means skin. So there you go, spiny skin, a little pokey. Oh, I forgot to mention sea urchins with those guys too. Sea urchins also with Echinodermata. And then that takes us to Chordata, right? So these are all things, not all of them have backbones, but all the things with backbones are in Chordata. So our major examples here are reptiles and fish and amphibians and mammals, and the best of all, birds. Welcome for staying tuned to this week's secret. This day's, I'll tell you a secret now. This is not a big one. The last one's got a little bit long-winded. Here's this one. My feet are pretty flat. And for my shoes to fit properly without my foot all slopping all around, I always put extra insoles in my shoes. Like I buy extra insoles at the stores. And I'm constantly flipping from one shoe to the next because my feet are flat. I need to raise them up a little bit. It also makes it a little bit squishy in there, so very comfortable. But I do add insoles to all my shoes because I have stupid flat feet, no arch. So